This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Welcome to the OI podcast, the Otago Institute podcast, in-depth conversations with experts from the worlds of arts, sciences and mataranga Māori, brought to you by the Otago Institute, the Otago branch of the Royal Society for Arts and Sciences. Kia ora, I'm Dr. Barb.
And I'm Trudy, and this is the first time we're actually in the studio for 2025. Woo!
Woohoo!
So while we've had programs going out, this is the first time we've got together, and
Yes.
since it's early January, or mid-January, or whatever you like to think, what a summer it's been. Not, but... Lots of liquid sunshine.
No, we've got some sunshine lately. I think we've got some sunshine lately. It's been good. It was dismal over Christmas. I will admit that it was a little bit dismal over Christmas.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, good for like going out in the garden in the squishy and the wet
and watching your grass grow and
maybe it's good for some. But
could be good for bugs.
Honestly,
bugs
our garden
and
just
stuff.
went crazy, and I'm sure everybody around Dunedin is the same. Our garden just went absolutely crazy, because it was quite hot,
yes,
but really
warm.
damp and raining, and then we had those heavy thunderstorms and a lot of growth all around the place. And of course, with the council not doing their regular mowing of virgins and stuff, there's quite a lot of vegetation around as well.
I'm pleased you said virgins because I've never seen the council come up to mow my lawn, so I just thought you might add an inside contact.
What do they call them? The berms, around the edges. Yeah. And one of the council's reasons for, obviously it's a cost saving thing. No one's really pretending otherwise, I don't think. But they did say on their site that they thought that it was good for the insect life. And so there's kind of a little bit of, it eco-washing? Is it bug washing? Is it eco-washing? Or is it really something that's helping our native bugs?
Well, if we save money and help bugs, I think we just take the win.
Well, if indeed we are helping bugs by doing it. So I think we should, I think, if they're just doing it for cost saving, they're just doing it for cost saving. If it is in fact, but I would like to see some data on whether it is in fact, or some scientific weighing in on whether in fact it is helping our native bugs.
And we might be able to come to that today with
well,
our
we
guests.
might be able to, come up with a scheme at least, even if we don't get the answer.
I'm sure we can come up with a scheme.
And why we're here today, obviously, is because we're very excited, because I think this is the third year that it's been running, is Bug of the Year. And we've got the amazing Jandt here. Jandt. Oh my gosh, I've said it wrong again. Sorry, Jenny.
Okay.
Jenny Jandt here in the studio today to talk to us about the Bug of the Year. Thank you very much for coming along.
Oh, kia ora, and thank you so much for inviting me to talk about Bug of the Year. I love this competition, so I'm happy to get into it.
It's fantastic. Hey, so we're just going to have like a short little summary of it for those out there who may be coming at this for the first time. So Aotearoa is home to thousands of fascinating insects, spiders, slugs, snails, centipedes, springtails and other bugs. These bugs make up more than half of our animal diversity, and many of them are found nowhere else on the planet. That means they're endemic to New Zealand. That's fantastic. Bugs are vital for our health of our ecosystems. They are food for our birds, fish, reptiles, other insects, spiders. Basically, there's probably few things that don't eat a bug at some stage of their life.
Even when one flies in your cup of tea,
I
you
know,
swallow it before you realise, but
Yeah, there's lots of actual societies that have bugs as a staple in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Deep fried crickets.
I read somewhere that rice, like people who just live on rice, which actually you can't live on, but they were getting enough of the other vitamins and things from the bugs that were in the rice.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
It's a meme. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not talking from a research point of view, but anyway. Also, of course, they're pollinators for our crops and flowers, and they keep our soils aerated, our waste decomposed, and our backyard buzzing. So, there's stories about, if all the decomposers stopped, we'd be, person or elephant high in crap
stuff
within, a very short time. And I don't know what
so
the time.
is that correct?
Yeah.
Just from first principles it is. If you don't decompose stuff, it goes.
One of our nominees, I don't want to spoil too much, is a blowfly. And a lot of times in my backyard, now that I have chickens, my yard is full of blowflies. but it's because they're laying eggs and laying on the chicken poops that are all over my backyard. And so anytime I
Not
see
the chickens laying the eggs, the blowflies you're talking about.
the blowflies
Sorry.
are laying their eggs on the chicken poops.
Oh, right.
Sorry,
Right.
sorry, I
got it.
momentarily had a picture of the blowflies laying the eggs on the eggs. But
But yeah, so every time I get, feel a slight bit of irritation, oh, look at all these flies, I just think, yeah, they're cleaning up my backyard, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Okay, that's a good way. So this year you've got 21 nominees, which represent 3 phyla, 5 classes, 15 orders, and each nominee is the sole representative of its taxonomic family. And I like this idea that you've got just one representative for each family, so you don't have double ups. And I'm sure there's some thought behind that process. What were you going
there's
for there?
insects, invertebrates, arthropods. There's so much diversity out there, and when you have a competition that's 10 different butterflies and a couple of weta and maybe a bee, that's cool. It's very pretty. But it doesn't represent the actual diversity that's out there.
Right.
And so one of the really big goals that our committee has had since day one was to present and challenge people with the things that you don't really think about when you think of an insect or an invertebrate. Right. The things that go unseen unless you're actively looking and digging for them. And so every year we challenge ourselves on the committee to try to have as diverse as possible a representation among our nominees, because we want to share that diversity with people that may not have ever heard half of these things before.
Yeah, no. And of course, when you talk about the committee there, you're talking about the committee that runs the Entomological Society of New Zealand, right? Which the committee is the committee for the Entomological Society.
Sort of. So,
no. So,
yeah.
Go with the sort of.
I'll tell you some origin stories here. So the Entomological Society Executive Committee one year had a conversation. We've always been jealous of Bird of the Year.
Yeah.
And one of
Which
the
is
years,
a fantastic, advocate
it's
for
amazing.
birds.
Exactly. And so one year Bird of the Year was coming around and the executive committee was having their meeting. And once again, we grumbled, why don't we have a Bug of the Year? And finally, a couple of us were like, well, why don't we have a Bug of the Year? Let's just do it. And so a few of us from the executive committee got together and we brought along, we brought in Lily Duvall, who's an artist in New Zealand, to join the committee. And it was just kind of this small group of us, Phil Servid and Julia Casper from Te Papa, Tara Murray from Doc was initially on it. Morgan Marion, who's now at Canterbury Museum.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to feel really bad if I forgot somebody.
Well, Connell and yourself.
Well, Connell joined actually in the past year.
Oh, right.
And so Connell McLean has now joined the committee. Tara Murray has stepped off. But it was just a small group of us who just thought, let's argue amongst ourselves how we're going to make this happen. And we did. We got, the society provides a little bit of support for us to run the website and to run the voting. But otherwise, all of the efforts are done through this volunteer effort through a subset of us or a subset of, and now we're an official subcommittee or committee on the in the Entomological Society of New Zealand.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I tell you what, the Otago Institute is fully behind this competition. We think it's a fantastic idea. And obviously lots of other people do as well. I mean, the Otago Museum are running I think they're running a campaign behind the velvet worm. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. And they've got a coloring competition. The winner wins $100. If you haven't been to Te Hura Otago Museum, get over there and color your photo. That's amazing.
Yeah, because that's amazing.
We've got other Moths and Butterflies. New Zealand often runs different campaigns.
Yeah, and of course the Red Admiral, the Kahukura won last year.
Yeah, so the Kahukura Red Admiral Butterfly, New Zealand Red Admiral Butterfly is the current
the
winner.
reigning champion.
Yeah,
so will they be passing the crown?
Yeah, who's going to be the next one?
So why is it? Why do we call them bugs? Like, why is it Bug of the Year? And not
I've got a bug about this being called Bug of the Year because, of course, they're not all bugs. Bugs are bugs.
You're not alone.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a bug about this, and I've been dying to ask you why you went with Bug of the Year.
So a few things I have to share about this. Number one, let me assure you that our committee spent, I'm not joking, 2 months arguing over what we were even going to call this.
I can totally imagine it, eh? And honestly, if I was on that committee, it would have been 3.
Because We couldn't call it insect of the year
No.
because we have a spider guy on the committee, and we've got a lot of arachnologists in the Entomological Society.
And if you have insect of the
What
year,
about
all
creepy
your slugs
crawlies
and
of the year?
all your
we
slugs
thought about
and
creepy
snails.
crawlies of the year.
Yeah, it's got bad connotations, hasn't it? Creepy crawlies.
Kind of
Well,
does,
they're
yeah.
blowflies, like,
We thought
come
about
on.
invertebrate of the year, but then then we
Yes,
kept. But what happened around then? The bat won bird of the year,
Right.
And so on our committee, as we're trying to establish this, we're thinking, how do we avoid getting rickrolled into accepting something that we don't consider to be
In the group.
What
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so they were like, well, maybe terrestrial invertebrate of the year. And we're like, no,
Oh, 'cause
because
you don't wanna have
there's a lot of
invertebrate.
freshwater invertebrates we want to include. So it just, we went back and forth. Morgan Marianne, as you guys probably know, also is the star of the New Zealand hit show Bug Hunter. And
They had our moths on there.
excellent.
Yeah,
Oh, I
Maya,
love that show.
Maya and Muka came and did like a little, personality thing on it and showed about the moth project up
How
at
cool.
Orokonui. It's a really cool episode, yeah. And they had the
I'm gonna have to check that
Putorino
out.
over there. Yeah, no, check it out. And they
And
were
these-
lovely. Yeah, the bug hunters.
Was it Rude Kleinplast or
Yeah,
whatever?
the
He
bug
was
man.
the bug man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rudy.
Yeah.
So we kind of kept going back and forth, and at the end of the day, we thought about, what is our goal here? Who is our audience? Who are we trying to bring into this narrative? The scientists are mad at us because bug is not the appropriate term. But the general public, the people that we're actually aiming at to educate and to share all of this love for insect diversity, arthropod diversity, 99% of them don't realize that bug means something very, very specific. It's a specific common name that we use for a specific group of insects. And so it irritates. So the first Entomological Society meeting I went to after we announced Bug of the Year, almost every member that was in attendance there had some kind of gripe with me, had to come up to me, pull me aside, explain to me how dare we call it this? Don't I know better? Of course I know better.
You needed a placard. Yes, I do know better.
I know, that's a good T-shirt, actually.
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
know, I've just been thinking while you've been talking here, you've totally convinced me, by the way. But what I think the problem is the common name being bug. So we need to find a different name.
Different common name for the true bugs.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah. I'm not going to convince the hemiptera.
I think that's what we should be
hemipterists.
aiming for.
Yeah.
Call them two bugs.
Two bugs.
Like just one word.
Yeah. Two bugs, one bird, one word. Like firefly, one word. Yeah.
Yeah, like call them and just drop the R, so it's just two bugs.
Yeah.
And just and then you freed
I'm
up.
gonna
that
let
term.
you take on
Yeah, I'll
that
take on that one.
campaign.
We need a T-shirt for it and a little XKCD.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cartoon.
yeah, that'd be so
That'd be
cool.
great.
That's
yeah.
what we need.
Yep.
Hey, so we've
Right,
got
focus.
21
Yes.
nominees this year. And what we've done prior to this show, folks, look how organised we have been. This is like a
This is
high
amazing.
five.
I'm so excited.
So what we've done is we've put the word out to the champions. Now, how do people get to be a champion?
And what is
Okay.
a champion? Yeah.
These are great questions, and I'm really glad to answer them. So, what we do when we make our decision as to which of these bugs we include as nominees every year, we base them based off of recommendations that people give us. So, on our website, you'll see a tab on the top menu that says "Submit your recommendations for Bug of the Year," and you can do this any time of the year. Around
So you can
July,
go in right now.
You
If
can
you
go
look in-
right now. If your favorite bug or insect or arthropod isn't a nominee this year, go ahead and submit your recommendation for next year. In July, we take a look at all of the recommendations we receive. We go through them as a committee and decide, what is the best representative sample. We try
And of course, going back to your one per family.
Yep. Well, if we can, yes.
Yeah.
How do we maximize diversity? But also trying to make sure, we don't want to have too much repetition from year to year, too. We want to mix it up a little bit from year to year, right?
Yeah.
So we do the best we can with that. And then we take the person who submitted that recommendation and we give them an opportunity to become a champion for that individual, for that nominee. They don't have to. But if they do say, yeah, sure, I put them on a mailing list, and champions then, they get to know ahead of time which are the nominees are. We announce the nominees in December officially. We have the website ready, but from September until December, the champions are working behind the scenes, creating their social media profiles, creating their memes, creating their websites, creating their, videos, whatever they want to do, so that when December happens, when voting opens in January, they're ready to go with all of their arsenal in their back pocket to be able to start sharing. Also, they're getting behind the scenes updates. So anything new that we might be trying to do, we may not be emailing it to everybody everywhere, but we're emailing the champions. So recently, I looked up to see what the rankings were of the of the votes that are coming in, and I don't post those publicly, but I email them to the champions, and then they get to do with that. What they want.
Do we know some rankings already?
Kinda.
Like behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want people to vote based on their
their true
desires.
feelings, right?
Yeah, so that's why we don't make them public until the end.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's really fun for the champions to kind of get involved and do stuff. And
the champions can promote their own bug in the meantime as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of their role.
Yeah. So
and can they start promoting them prior to voting opening? That's
100%. So we try to have them start in December. Some people like to start earlier because of the school year. They want to get in and they want to get things going.
And do we know how many
going.
votes there have been total up till now?
There have been almost 7,000. 7,000. You can vote for up to 3 nominees at a time.
Wow.
And
you only vote once, right?
You only vote once. We've received over 7,000 votes from over 2,000 people.
Wow. See, that's pretty amazing already. Yeah. Because how long has it been running?
Since
this
January
isn't going
1st.
out live.
16 days.
Yeah. So since January 1st is when it starts, right?
Yeah.
So if this goes out live next Friday, there'll be more by then. So anyway, 3 weeks.
3.5 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Amazing. That is quite a lot of votes, really.
Yeah, and last year we had over 6,000 people submit votes from all over the world. Every point
and it
of the
runs
world.
until
the last day to vote is February 17th at midnight.
February 17th.
And the winner will be announced on the 21st.
Right.
So get in early and don't forget to vote, folks.
Yeah, because honestly, if you forget to vote, it's like forgetting to submit to a viable consultation over the holidays.
Yeah. And the first year we had voting open way too long, so that by the time February rolled around, people couldn't remember if they had voted or not.
Right.
And so we do go through and make sure that people only vote once, so that you might be able to, sneak in a second vote somehow. But
right. So it kicks out your email basically if it's already had that email.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, that's good to know. No sneaking, people. This is a fair competition. It's all above board. And that means that what you need to do is you need to go to the bugoftheyear.ento.org.nz site. It's a beautiful website. Right on the front of it, there is a massive collage of all 21 of this year's nominees.
Or it's just Google New Zealand Bug of the Year and then you don't have to worry about intro
you can do that as well.
Like
That'll take you straight there as well. And what happens is if you click on the picture, like I've just clicked on the yellow mayfly, Piriwai, and I believe we have one of the champions has sent in a 60-second thing about the yellow mayfly. Anyway, if you click on that, you will get like pictures of it, beautiful, and a colouring in picture of this beautiful 2 actually, and I think there's 2 for each entry. There's at least 1 for each entry that you can colour in. And the mayfly one, this is the first time I've seen it. It just popped up here. Some of
the champions have submitted a second colouring page that they've asked.
Because this is a lovely one. There's a picture of the actual mayfly, and then there's a picture of it in habitat with all its larval stages. All its life stages, including the larval stage. Sorry. It's my first show back since the holidays and my brain is not quite caught up with my tongue.
We're a wee bit excited, people.
We're a wee bit excited.
Well, it's Bug of the Year.
Let's hear from the champion for the yellow mayfly.
The endemic carnivorous mayfly nymph, Amelatopsis persitis, hopefully the winner of Bug of the Year 2025. What's unique about this particular nymph is it's carnivorous. Globally, there are very few mayflies that eat other aquatic invertebrates, and we just happen to have our very own in New Zealand. What makes the story even more interesting is it has this sort of terrifying juvenile nymph stage terrorising aquatic insects for about a year in the water, and then it emerges into this beautiful bright yellow mayfly that's very easy to spot against the dull greens and grey rocks normally associated with shaded native forests. But the yellow adult has like a double meaning in a way. It signifies colours of the canary, and mayflies, typically known as the canaries of the waterways. The idea of nominating this particular mayfly is just to bring some focus into our aquatic insects. They're just as unique as kiwi or kakapo, and we need to look after them.
Wow. So if you want to go for the carnivorous mayfly, yellow mayfly, that sounds amazing, doesn't it? Chomping up on all those other invertebrates in the stream.
I suddenly want to run around to like little rivers and go search for them. I want to see the adult. That sounds so beautiful.
It does. And the picture is beautiful
amazing,
as well. Yeah. And
It's a lovely photo.
Yeah, and you know that's a valid thing. Canary in the invertebrate wet freshwaters, and of course our freshwater systems are all in trauma and turmoil. You know, they really
We might need to explain the canary down the mine reference, I think.
Oh, do we? People know what that means, don't they? People,
don't know.
miners used to take a canary down the mines, and if the canary keeled over from gas, basically the canary died, and everyone ran back for the entrance because there was likely to be an explosion or poisonous gases. So yeah, basically, it's an early signal, an early warning that things are not right with the environment which you find yourself in, and thank you, yellow mayfly, for playing that role. But also, it's, an unenviable position to be in if you are the canary.
Yeah. Well, and the yellow mayfly in this case, if you see them there, it's a sign that the waterways are healthy
good and healthy.
good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and the next one up, if you haven't had lunch yet and you're feeling a little bit peckish, the next one up is our gherkin slug.
Have you heard of the gherkin slug? I honestly love these guys, and I really hope they can win this year. So, one, they are so cute. They look exactly like gherkins. And if you don't believe me, look them up because they look tasty. And second, we don't know much about them at all. And this goes for all of our native slugs. So all of New Zealand's slugs, or at least our natives, are types of leaf vein slugs, or putoko ropiropi. And they're really cool. They look completely different to the ones you find in your garden. A lot of them have cool camouflage, some have veins on their back that make them look like leaves. But they're also tragically understudied. So almost 2/3 of them haven't even been properly described yet. And this is out of 65 species that we know of so far. But we do know that over half of them are at risk or threatened. And another 11 are so data deficient that we don't even know how endangered they are. So we need more people to care about the squishies. If you like gherkins, if you like slugs, then vote for the gherkin slug for Bug of the Year.
And if you like Doctor Who, it is not dissimilar from Lady Cassandra, who always said, moisturise me, moisturise me.
And we know that everybody here knows, regular listeners will know, that Trudy does like Doctor Who. So I feel that there's one vote coming your way. There for the good. And they are beautiful, and they look like gherkins. She is not wrong here.
I couldn't believe it when they sent this in, and I actually saw the photo. I'm like, this is, and the color is so
vibrant
brilliant.
green.
It's such a good green.
It's amazing. And honestly, the little colouring in pictures are so cute. And as a crocheter, I can totally imagine that as a little crocheted animal. So I think if I were to champion, if it doesn't win this year, I will invent a little crochet pattern for it for next year. So all the crocheters out there can champion the gherkin slug, or putoko ropi. Sorry. I was reading off the line drawing, and there's all lines everywhere, and my brain is not quite on function yet. Anyway, let's crack on to the giant springtail.
Have you ever wondered what it would look like if a hedgehog and a gummy bear made a baby? Well, the answer is giant springtails. These adorable multicoloured little spine blobs are only found in New Zealand, where they live under logs in native bush. Although they're only about 1.5 centimetres long, they're actually the biggest springtails in the world, hence the name giant springtail. In fact, they are so chonky they can't jump away from danger like most other springtails, so instead they may just defensively bleed to deter their predators. Why are giant springtails important? Well, they feed on decaying wood and microbes, so they're important for nutrient cycling in forests. And because they only live in undisturbed native bush, they could be good biological indicators of forest condition and restoration success. Despite all of this, there's no legal protection for these unique and vulnerable animals. So let's raise awareness of the giant springtails by voting for them to win Bug of the Year 2025 and help get these Technicolor living pincushions the conservation protection that they deserve.
And if you go on the site, they are quite cute, actually.
They are gorgeous.
They're beautiful
And again,
colour.
I can totally imagine that as a little crocheted animal.
Yeah.
I mean, they are gorgeous. Look,
Instead
with
of
and the
having
little
a-
orange pops on the ends. I mean, it's a.
You could replace them as teddy bears for young children.
I mean, as far as hedgehogs go,
It's pretty cool.
hedgehogs want to look like these, eh?
Right, and they're so cute. And also on all of the sites that include more details on each of the nominees, there are links at the bottom for more information. And the links that Frank supplied for the springtails, I had so much fun when I was going through because I wanted to give the proper attribute for the photos and just some of the beautiful diversity that's living in our leaf litter.
Gorgeous.
Just
Yeah.
incredible.
And again, the beautiful colouring page. And yeah, all of those extra links are amazing there. So you can really find out as much or as little as you want here. But it's. I
There's
think
even a poem.
Is there even a poem? I didn't see
On that page there is. Let's talk about poems in a minute, though,
Okay.
because
All right, okay.
that's another component of Bug of the Year this year.
Let's not jump too far ahead. Anyway, thank you very much, Frank, for that one. Next on our little snapshots is the New Zealand mole cricket.
Priamoscaptor aotea, the New Zealand mole cricket, or Honi in te reo. These bugs live in relatively large subterranean burrows known as galleries and are quite a rare sight to behold. If you're lucky, you may encounter them while tilling or gardening. The mole cricket is a flightless member of the order Orthoptera and is the only species in its genus, endemic to Aotearoa, New Zealand. Like some other crickets, males use growths on their forelegs to produce mating calls through a process known as stridulation. They also use these large and powerful forelegs to dig their burrows and sometimes in contests for mates, territory, and resources. Mole crickets in Aotearoa and across the world are under threat from pressures including pesticide use, habitat loss and degradation, and predation from introduced pests such as rats. You can help out these hidden gems of our soils, the New Zealand mole cricket, by voting for it as one of your top 3 picks for the 2025 New Zealand Bug of the Year.
Wow. And looking at that picture, I would not have thought that was a cricket.
Right.
That's,
Looks like
that's
a
not what
spider,
that's not what I think of a cricket looking
No.
like.
Yeah.
No, I feel like I know a little bit about bugs.
The craziest
Insects?
thing happened to me yesterday. This is probably not the craziest thing that happened to me yesterday, but it was interesting. No, I thought it was interesting. I was chatting with one of my students, and just out of nowhere, she said, "I'd really like to see a mole cricket one day." And I said, "That's a nominee for Bug of the Year this year." I've never had anybody bring up a mole cricket out of context ever until yesterday. And I'm like, oh, this is very cool.
So did you go and find one?
No.
I don't know. We need an expedition to find one. But
Yes.
I really like, on the site here, they feed on roots but will also eat soil-dwelling insects such as grass grub and Purina moth larvae. Now, Purina moth larvae, that is a native species of moth, Wysianaspa, but they are everywhere because they eat grass roots. So, farmers and sports fields have lovingly curated a banquet for them. So I feel like anyone who is a grounds person or a farmer, this is your insect to vote for.
Yeah.
Bug of the Year.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, farmers, get out there. Vote for this
Exactly.
one. Grounds people, all those people, look, cricket grounds people.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called. Is that what they're
Grounds
called?
people, yeah.
Ground people, yeah. Sounds funny when I say it, cricket grounds people. But anyway, this is the
'Cause
cricket
we're
for you.
talking about-
especially 'cause it's a cricket.
It's a cricket and we're talking about cricket. That's right, I'm getting it. Anyway, cricket people, this is your cricket Bug of the Year.
I love it.
I think so. That's where I would go. Wow. We are here. Okay, the Nio weevil. This is a lovely one, this one.
Why should you vote for the Nile weevil? Because this critically endangered species has only around 300 individuals left on one island, Takapariwa or Stevens Island in the Marlborough Sounds. Iwi members and volunteers have been working tirelessly to monitor this species, but the island's isolation and the weevil's elusive nature make it very difficult to study. We know shockingly little about what it needs to thrive. In fact, in the 90s, people feared it had vanished altogether. But there's still hope. Thanks to the dedication of Ngāti Koata, DOC and volunteers, tree planting efforts have given the population a lifeline. We can reliably spot the Nile weevil now, but its future remains uncertain. Voting for this creature will help raise much needed awareness about its plight. The more people who know about it, the better chance we have to protect it. Very few species in Aotearoa are as rare and mysterious as the Nile weevil. With your vote, we may get help to gain a deeper understanding of its needs and hopefully turn the tide for this remarkable giant flightless beetle.
It's amazing. And I love its snout. Oh my gosh, anyone with a snout out there, go vote for this one. It's just got the most amazing nose. It's fabulous. Is this on your shirt? Is this the no? Oh,
this is actually the nobbled weevil.
Oh, right.
This was a
close
candidate,
relative.
Last year and was our what's the word for it, mascot for our conference held up in Canterbury last year.
Right, yes, I see.
But it's weird to think a bug could be endangered because you kind of think, oh, there must be thousands of them, but no.
Yeah, well, I think, it's that thing when they're really dependent on their habitat and their habitat goes, and there's a lot of species that can actually just disappear before they're actually even know where they are, and they're gone already. And that's the really big worry for, conservation-minded ecologists, is that we know that there's so little that we know about various things that, there's things like the yellow mayfly, which we know, okay, that's an indicator species. If it's there, everything's probably okay. And the giant springtail was another one, right? We were thinking, okay, if it's there, probably everything's okay in that particular area. But then there's whole areas, we've had so much habitat loss and habitat change with predators and, rats, mice, hedgehogs, all of those introduced species munch down on insects and vertebrates of all types. That's their main food source. And, of course, they're competing with our native birds and reptiles and everything for that food source. But they're also, a lot of times, they're eating it in a different way. So, the insects that we have here in New Zealand that are endemic, they have evolved over a long period of time with the birds and the reptiles and the other insects. It's this co-evolution where they've kind of got themselves into a balance. Yes, we're food to be eaten and we produce enough of us to sustain our line along, but then you bring in something different like rats and mice and they're eating in a different way, and that's where everything sort of goes up. And then on the top of that, you bring in habitat destruction. Sorry, I'm on my high horse. I can tell by the way Trudy's looking at me.
Preaching to the choir.
Making sure it's going to get right around the head.
So push the button. There you go. She's off. But yeah, so I think, that's, and it is a beautiful weevil, the snio weevil. And of course, nio trees are very common here around the harbour. We've got several on our place. And, I only recently realised that the leaves were actually poisonous. Oh, me.
How did you figure that out?
Oh, someone told me. Oh, Janice told me.
Oh, so you brewed it up and
Prof. Janice.
served it to
No.
someone.
Prof. Janice told me.
Well, last year for the competition, for each of our nominees, we had a statement underneath each of them, whether they were at risk, endangered, et cetera.
Right.
11 of our 20 nominees last year were at risk or endangered. This year, we were about to do the same thing. But someone on our committee highlighted that so many of our insects, and you've heard about this already, are so understudied that they just may be data deficient.
Yeah.
We don't know,
that phrase.
Data deficient. And it really just means we know so little about this thing.
There could be a ton of them, or there could be none of them.
But if there was like lots and lots and lots of them, we would probably know more about them, right? Like the most common things are the things that we know more about.
I don't know. I was looking at stuff for a drone fly that hangs out in my backyard, and there are not as many papers on that as I would expect.
No,
but that's
true.
besides the point.
I'm totally talking out my ear because actually it depends on how bright they are and how spectacular they are and where they are common and, when they come out. Like if they're night dwellers, they're much less likely to be seen. If they're in the river rather than on the grasslands, they're less likely to be seen. If they're on the edges of forests, they're more likely. If they're
there's
pests,
studies, but if they're not, if they're just living their
pests
life hiding.
or pretty is basically the way. Right. Oh, now here is a favourite. This is a Dunedin favourite.
Yes.
Over the velvet worm.
I know. It is the New Zealand velvet worm.
It is very pretty.
Peripatus.
But
it is a Dunedin favourite.
Yes.
Let's hear from
Kia
Matt.
ora. My name is An Lee, and I'm very excited to champion the New Zealand velvet worm to be New Zealand's Bug of the Year for 2025. My favorite thing about the velvet worms is that you can't help but smile and say, "Oh, cute," when you see one, or even a picture of one. The fact that Dunedin basically has its own species of velvet worm is also very cool. It's like having adorable tiny teddy bears lurking in the leaf litter. Then there's the fact that they have an actual superpower. in the form of glue guns that they use to capture and immobilize their prey. The more you learn about velvet worms, the more special and cool they become. And I'm thrilled to have Tuhura Otago Museum lending its weight behind this campaign, and for the museum to host Bug Day on Saturday, the 15th of February, for our community to learn more about velvet worms and other animals that live alongside us, often unseen, unappreciated, and unprotected.
Velvet worm man, I can see that really taking on as a franchise.
Well, I mean, like the glue
like
gun.
Ant-Man, there used to be Super Ant. There was a
There's
TV
Ant-Man.
program.
Ant-Man's
Ant-Man.
Paul Rudd. Ant-Man. And the
no,
Wasp Lady.
there was a cartoon like
Oh, surely that was-
Adamant.
Oh, there's Adamant.
So there's
but
Adamant.
the Ant-Man, which was from the Marvel comics as
Right.
well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with Paul Rudd and the Wasp Lady.
Who in the hell?
And Spider-Man also.
Oh, yeah.
Paul, yeah, and
his-
Spider-Man, obviously.
Yeah, but Velvet worm man. Here
There you go.
Yeah, the Velvet Worm Man. But I don't know. See, I think then why would it be a man? Like the Velvet Worm
Well, I was
lady?
going with Velvet worm woman, but, you know.
Well, because it's a mouthful, right?
Yeah,
But
I know,
Velvet
so-
Worm Lady? Madam Velvet Worm?
Madam Velvet.
Madam Velvet.
Madam Velvet, there we go.
Oh, we can start a sideline.
I love it. Hey, and obviously, I think the Velvet Worm needs no further discussion here in Dunedin.
I'm pretty sure Anli is now going to dress up as the Velvet Worm for Bug Day.
Madam Velvet
and she will
Worm.
call herself Madam Velvet.
Yeah, I can see Only as that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. We are looking forward to that, Only, if you're listening. Now, moving right along, we have now, this is possibly one of the tougher cells, I'm going to say, without first having heard the spiel for it.
He's wearing
But
sunglasses.
the New Zealand blue blowfly.
The most universal creature in Aotearoa is the great blue blowfly. From the most desolate mountain to your own backyard, this humble fly can be found fulfilling its purpose of recycling the dead into new life. The blue blowfly, rango, is intricately associated with the passage of death in various Māori stories, often acting as a messenger and spirit of the deceased. For instance, in the Māori legend of Tama and his wife Rukutia, unimpressed with her husband's appearance, eloped with a much more attractive chief. In an effort to gain her back, Tama transformed into a white heron and flew to his ancestors to convince them to make him more attractive. Tama, now much more handsome, successfully enticed his wife to return to him, but only to behead her and bury her body. But this vengeance only riddled Tama with remorse, and he sat day after day mourning his wife. Then one day Tama heard a sweet singing sound and saw a rango fly past him. Upon this, Tama visited the place where his wife was buried and found her alive again. So the next time you notice a blue blowfly, pay careful attention and try to hear their song, because they might be trying to tell you something important.
We should check with your wife or husband at the same time. But look, it looks really cool. It looks like it's got sunglasses on.
I know,
and that blue.
The
blue is
my God,
beautiful.
that is iridescent blue,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic. And again, would make a fantastic costume.
Yeah.
I'm getting quizzical looks here. Where's this dead ear here? Do you not think that, like, the sunglasses
The sunglasses.
and the big blue bustle, like an 1870s?
Okay, I'm sold now.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, now I
like-
get
down
it.
there.
Like a
And
big
gossamer wing
gossamer over
thing.
here, and the
yeah.
and the big blue iridescent bustle. Oh my goodness, that would be fantastic as a costume. Anyway, I've sold you on it now. I'm happy. Yes. Okay, the New Zealand
But
praying.
it's interesting, like, we talk about death, you know, in other religions or previous civilizations, the gods are deaf and they're big, huge things, you know, that cause mischief and mayhem. But here we've got a sneaky
tiny
little
little
thing
sneaky
that
thing.
just does
That's
its job.
interesting,
It's quite
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to have a think about that. Whether there's other peoples around the world who also have small things that cause mischief in the same way.
Well, it sounds to me from that story, though, it wasn't mischief. It was kind of carrying him.
The message that it was
Carrying the
happening.
message, yeah.
Yeah, like they weren't causing it. But
Yeah.
because moths also, there's puraka about moths as messengers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that actually, I think, transcends different peoples. I think there's First Nations stories about moths as messengers. And I think it's that sort of like association with coming and going and darkness and dusk and that kind of, you're sitting there in a contemplative mood maybe around a campfire and what comes to you and goes. But yeah, it's interesting that the blowfly is there as well. New Zealand praying mantis. We're up next.
New Zealand praying mantis, also known as the roa or fair, is one of our beautiful native insects and may even be in your back garden right now. A native mantis also holds significance in Māori culture, where it can indicate pregnancy or be the manifestation of the atua te Aotearoa. They can easily be identified by their rich green colours, wide necks, and iconic blue and purple inner arm spots. Now, these captivating features differ from the invasive South African mantis's thinner necks and light green and brown colours, and these invaders are a common sight across the North Island and are progressively spreading south. A native mantis also challenges your assumptions by hardly ever exhibiting sexual cannibalism, unlike the invasive South African praying mantis. But unfortunately, the invasive mantis's pheromones also attract our native mantis, thus causing their untimely demise and likely being the leading cause of their population decline. But don't worry, you can help save them by increasing the awareness of their decline and encouraging conservation efforts. Don't let them become another lost native species. Vote New Zealand Mantis Bug of the Year 2025.
So, lady mantises, just watch whose pheromones you change.
That's crazy. Yeah. Oh, I feel so sorry for them. It's like the worst side of catfishing, right? You're being catfished. You're not getting a chance to reproduce, and you're just basically getting eaten.
You're getting food.
Wow.
Food.
One of my favorite stories about this praying mantis, though, was at the last conference, George was giving his talk about some of his research that he does, and a lot of it has to do with Mataranga. And he was sharing the story of how if a mantis lands on you, then that's a sign that you're pregnant. And literally minutes before he went up to talk, I was showing him photos of my trip to Tonga where a mantis landed on me while I was trying to take a photo of a butterfly. And the whole time he's giving his talk and he says that, I'm like, oh!
Could be cause for celebration.
What happened? And I think somewhere along his talk, it came out that it was going to be a daughter, too. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh, dare we ask?
Yeah.
Oh, not pregnant.
Okay. So it's not a reliable test.
It's not a reliable test.
Not a reliable test there, right?
Thank goodness.
But it's an indicator. Perhaps it's to come.
Who knows? You don't know.
I mean, gruesome story there. Gruesome story. Not the pregnancy one. The one about the introduced species luring it with their pheromones and then just basically snacking it down.
When you were talking before about all of these other introduced species that are having these predatory consequences or we don't often think about the introduced insect species, aside from, the introduced wasps and some of the other things that really bother us. But there's other things that are competing really locally with these organisms.
And of course, on the wasps, there's like really serious wasp native insect interactions where they are really stealing that resource.
Yeah, they can. In some regions throughout Aotearoa, they're having really, really extreme impacts on some of our native species.
But gosh, that's really quite sad. And I don't know what it is. To get a different perfume for the native ones, or what is the answer there? I mean, goodness. But
border control,
biosecurity. But sometimes it's already gone before, and that's the trouble with data deficient species as well.
And another problem too is if you see a praying mantis in your yard, are you going to look for that little blue dot on its leg to confirm whether it's native?
So this one
or
here
not?
I will be from now on.
And if it doesn't have that little blue dot, are you going to get rid of it? Because it's still going to be adorable. I would have a really hard time getting rid of it. And praying mantids are so good at clearing up pet species that are hanging out in my garden too. So,
and oh my gosh, what a costume that would make!
Yeah,
I mean, I can see that's green all over with this iridescent blue.
I think
on your forearm.
Isabella Rossellini, is that her name?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She did a thing where she dressed up as a praying mantis.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. You got to check it out.
Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, now the last one, we've saved the best till last. So the last one that we're going to spotlight today. So of course
is always in the eyes of the beholder.
So of course there are 21 nominees, and we are just highlighting 9 today. And we may or may not have some more that we can post on the Facebook page there for you to highlight the remaining 12. But the last one today is Schmigel Klemoy Schmigel, otherwise known as the gravel maggot. But I think we should just go with the scientific name for this one, Schmigel.
The gravel maggot is the bug of the year candidate that the world needs right now. Kiwis love an underdog, and Schmigel, the scientific genus of the gravel maggot, is the ultimate underdog. Doesn't hog the limelight or any light at all, really. It lives completely underground eating waste. So as a detritivore, which is a critter that eats detritus, it spends its days recycling old nutrients back into the ecosystem, a critical function in how those ecosystems operate. So it's the ultimate anti-celebrity species. No ego, no hero points, just out there, gravel maggot living its best life. Anyone can love a panda or a peripedus, but it takes a true nature lover to vote for Smeagol. It's a vote for ecosystem services. It's a vote for the little guy. Give your vote to Gravel Maggot for Bug of the Year 2025.
Well, I have to say, Jamie, that's the best plug so far.
I think so.
I was almost convinced.
Yeah, I'm convinced. And do you know what? It's got the best line drawing as well. The detail on that line drawing is fabulous.
So the challenge is, do I stay within the line?
I love that colouring in page. Yeah, I love it. And, you know, Kiwis love an underdog.
Yeah.
Yep, they love it. And this is an Otago species, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think so.
Possible new species found here, the ODT. There's a link there to it. Thanks, Jamie.
And so how do they get the name
our picture,
Smeagol? You have to apply.
So I think no. So we were discussing this one day. What are the rules about using these terms that are, you know, obviously copyrighted by the film industry? And when it comes to genus species names, I don't know if there's actually rules about copyright infringement.
A name is a name.
Haven't you got a moth named after you?
Yes, I've got a moth named after me. Yes, Knusica barbara.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so they didn't really have to go through anybody to get permissions. You just
name it.
Smeagol,
because
Smeagol. I mean,
I mean, the movies don't own it, right? So the
it'll be
Tolkien owns it, or his estate owns it. If indeed he just invented it, because he may have taken it from some source material otherwhere.
Maybe,
you know,
but there's
like
also there's a whole group of like wasps that were named after different hobbits from the Lord of the Rings as well. So.
And you know, it's a great thing, and you know, it's not just one colour. The gravel maggot,
just like Smeagol, he had yellow and black in his teeth, and a white body, and the Smeagol maggot is mostly white with some yellow. I don't know, it's just so gross to look at. I'm sorry, Jamie.
It's gross in a kind of cute way. Like I can imagine that, like a caramel kind of.
Oh, look! You just put me off my latte for the next week now.
No, I think Kiwis love an underdog. I think Jamie's on something there. Kiwis love an underdog.
Great plug there, Jamie. Great plug.
Great plug.
If you fail in science, there's always marketing.
And an important ecological player, like you highlighted too.
Exactly.
You know, somebody that's just not even showing themselves, not coming up above ground just to show off, just doing its job.
Just doing its job, not spending all its time showing off. Yeah. And we all love those. Those are the people who keep society going, right?
Oh, I like peacocks. Don't get me wrong. I like things that show off and flutter and get right in your face.
Oh, okay. So now we know your type.
But I can appreciate the guys behind the scenes too.
Okay. So let's just go over the rules again. So how do you enter this? You go to Bug of the Year.
Go to the Bug of the Year website. First, take a moment to peruse through some of the pages, learn a little bit. And
listen to the podcast all the way through. Run through it again if you like.
Yeah. And then click Vote Here. The Vote Here button is on every page on the side, or it's on the bottom of the nominees page. And when you click there, you'll get to another page where it'll ask you to vote for up to 3 different nominees at once. You don't have to rank them, just choose your top 3. And click vote. It's going to ask you for a few additional questions afterwards. We're really just kind of curious as to how far, the reach is for some of these campaigns. We've had people voting from, all over the world last year. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to do that.
Yeah, so if anyone knows John Oliver personally.
No, not yet. The website's not ready for that yet. Wait until we hire someone to run the website, please.
Now you mentioned the poetry competition. What happens with the poetry competition?
So this year we've teamed up with New Zealand Poetry Society to run a poetry competition. And here you can submit up to 22 poems if you'd like to.
Wow.
As long as each one is on a different nominee. Right. Or you can submit a general poem for your love of bugs.
Right. So
And-
it's 21 for the 21 nominees, and the 22nd one
Or you
is
could
for
just submit one poem.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And length, or is there rules around, is it a haiku or?
I think there's a little bit of something. I think it's something like 25 lines maximum.
Oh, yes, it is here. Poems should be no longer than 25
But you can
lines.
do a poem or haiku.
And it can be in te reo Māori or English.
Yep. We just ask that if it's in te reo that you provide a translation on the same page so that the judge can read through it. We have different age groups for different categories for winners. So we have primary school, secondary school, and adults. And then there's the honorary category so that for each nominee and for the love of bugs, the top one will come out. Now that mostly gets you bragging rights, but it'll also get published in some of our newsletters and stuff and shared.
The important thing is they must be written by the submitting author. We want no assistance from AI here, thanks, folks.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, that's just that's not what this competition is about.
No, just about being creative and having fun. What's been really great, though, is being on the receiving end of these poems, just hearing the feedback from people that normally would never have done any research on these organisms. But now they're really diving in and learning. They're like, this has been a really cool thing. So I encourage people to, get out their creative juices and read through the website and submit a poem or two about some of these that really strike you. The deadline for the poetry competition is the 31st of January.
Right. Oh, so that's coming up.
Yeah. So you've got a couple of weeks, and you'll have about 1 week after this is aired.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because the judge needs a few weeks to be able to go through them. We've had over 50 poems submitted already.
Wow. Oh, you're going to flood
it's only
after
been
this.
2 weeks. Yeah. And so we need time to go through them and so that she can judge them. And then on the 14th, we'll announce the winner of the poetry competition. On the 15th, during Bug Day at Tuhura Otago Museum, as Anli highlighted, Connell McLean is also kind of spearheading a lot of different activities that we're running for that day.
Right.
And one of those activities is to have a poetry slam, where we highlight some of the poems that have been submitted for the poetry competition.
Now, a poetry slam, does that mean that people have to think up the thing at the time, or do they?
I might be using the wrong term. It might just be a poetry.
No, I don't know. No,
I don't think so.
I'm
I don't think you have to come up with. You can bring it with you.
So you already can have the poem, and then you just say it.
Yeah, you just share it in a little with a little group. Yeah. So it's just. I think there might be a sign up for a couple of these events that are happening on Bug Day.
We need to get some sponsorship for that, so there's a prize.
There are prizes. So we do have not for the poetry reading, but for the poetry competition. We've had a number of donations. And I can't tell you what the prizes are at the moment because I've forgotten. I'm so sorry.
We'll put them on the episode description and with all the Facebook and
I don't even think
stuff.
they're listed on the poetry competition page at the moment.
No, we'll put them up with when we get that sorted.
But there are prizes, and they've all been all based on donations that we've had from. So there's a book, like books that people have published, or children's books, or scientific books, or stuff like that.
Oh, we've got some moth guides.
Cool.
We can definitely put some moth guides
Love
in
it.
and a set of poi from Portuki Poi.
Oh, I love that.
And an Ahi Pepe moth T-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, we'll put that in for a competition, for the poetry competition.
Yay, thank you.
For the poetry slam.
I love it.
Yeah,
so we're always looking for, and so this is where the donations on the website come from, is, we're always looking for sponsors or donations, because this is run, as I mentioned, on a volunteer basis through a nonprofit society. And all of the donations that you might be interested in providing.
So that was one thing I was going to come up.
Yeah.
So on the site, once you've done the voting, there's a little flag that says donate here. What happens to the donate here money?
Yep. So if you click on that button, it'll take you to the Entomological Society of New Zealand page. And on that page, you can donate some money, and you can make a point as to where you want that money to go. Do you want it to go to Bug of the Year? Do you want it to go to New Zealand Poetry Society? Because that can be an option as well. Yeah. After you submit a poem, you'll also be redirected to a site with the same information. And then you just put that in there. What happens after the winner is announced? The winner of Bug of the Year will be announced on the 21st of February. Is the champion of that bug, at their discretion, gets to choose how that money should be spent. And specifically, we try to ensure that the money that is raised from donations for Bug of the Year goes to education, outreach, to continue to promote that particular nominee. So we've talked a little bit about some of these nominees and how they're endangered, understudied, underappreciated. And this gives that champion an opportunity and some resources to be able to go out and make a little bit of a difference for that particular winner.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because by voting for your favourite, you are actually potentially helping it. Like the winner, the winning bug actually gets something from it.
Exactly.
So that is a really good thing, I think.
Yeah. So the first year we supported. We didn't have donations the first year, but we had different activities and different events that we did to support the winner. This year the funding we raised about $400 that went to promoting the Kaukura red emerald butterfly, and it's been really, really great to see.
Hey, that's all we've got time for today, but thank you so much for coming along today, Jenny.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Trudy and I have had a fantastic time learning about all these bugs and the bug of the year, and we will definitely be putting in our votes.
I love it. Thanks,
already.
guys.
Yay! Thanks. Ka kite.
You've been listening to the OI podcast, the shout out for the arts, sciences and mataranga Māori.
You can support this podcast by becoming a member of the OI. Check out the Otago Institute for Arts and Sciences on Facebook or our website.
If you'd like to listen again to this episode or others from the series, look for the OI podcast on OAR FM's website, oar.org.nz.
Brought to you by the Otago Institute for Arts and Sciences, the Otago branch of the Royal Society of New Zealand.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.